Here is another excellent feature that the Gigabyte EP45 UD3P comes with. There's actually a lot of Gigabyte boards that have had a feature like this over the past couple of years, but they've improved upon it even more. And what I'm talking about is the ability to save your BIOS profiles. So all your overclocking settings, all your BIOS settings, because of course as boards have progressed in complexity and capability, the BIOS settings have increased. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of BIOS settings in here. So every time you have to reset the BIOS or whatever, or flash a new one, you don't want to have to come in here and reset all this crap. Well, that's where Gigabyte's BIOS profiles come in. And you can see here, it even tells you on the screen, F11 and F12, although that's kind of cryptic, save CMOS to BIOS. What that's basically telling you is you can load and save profiles. So I'm going to hit F11 to save some profiles. And here's my save profile screen. As you can see, I've already got a couple saved here. 2.8 gigahertz stock, 3.5 gigahertz stable, and they've improved upon it quite a bit. Now you have 8 slots built into the BIOS for saving profiles. Now, saving a profile is basically as easy as highlighting it. So I've got it highlighted, and then typing in a name, or you could just leave it to say default, but you'd never know what, what's what. So type in a name, 3.6 gigahertz, we'll say. 3.6 gigahertz testing. So there we go. And then hit enter, and it's saved. It's just saved all my BIOS settings, or CMOS settings, we could say, to one of the slots in the BIOS. Well, there's always been the problem, and this has been great, but if you ever flash a new BIOS, which I do a lot, whenever they come out with a new BIOS, I always want to test it. So if you ever flash a new BIOS, well, these slots actually get erased. They don't get erased if you press if you clear the CMOS, with taking out the battery or with a little jumper, but they do get erased if you flash a new BIOS. So that's always been a problem with the Gigabyte boards. It's a great feature, but it sucks if you flash a new BIOS and you lose your deal, lose all your profiles. Well, with this new series of motherboards, they've added the ability to save the profiles to a hard drive, a floppy drive, or a USB drive. That has got to be amazing. I mean, that's got really cool. Of course, I don't have anything hooked up for it to save to. I think the only hard drives it will save to is an external hard drive, or one that's formatted FAT32. I'm not sure about that. This is still a new feature, but I'm going to try and stick in a USB drive and see if it works. Here we go. I've inserted my USB drive. That's actually an old MP3 player, but it's a handy USB stick. And then I rebooted and went back into the BIOS, and you can see there it is. It shows up as a hard drive. So there's my hard drive. So now I can type in a file name, profile, and hit enter, and it's saved the file. So it should show up now. There it is. How about that? Of course, file exists, so it wants me to overwrite it. No, I don't want to do that. Now, I'm unclear as to whether this saves just a single profile or it saves the whole list of profiles to that file. It would be nice if it just saved every single profile, and then you could restore them all. Not sure about that. I'll have to look and see. But anyway, it's an excellent feature. I love it. I love it. I love it. $130 board here.
So there you have it. 15 months later, actually 16 months later, and I have nothing but great things to say still about the Gigabyte EP45 UD3P. It's been a great board. This particular board has been put through a whole lot of punishment, and it still manages to surprise me every day. I am certainly no master at the board, but I've learned quite a bit since I originally did the review. Some of the stuff that I put in the original review was wrong or slightly misinterpreted, but for the most part it remains accurate, and it's a good quick primer on how to overclock. But there are another set of videos I did on specifically how to overclock with the EP45 UD3P, and those are online already, so I'll put a link here that you can click on to go see them. So for those of you who stuck through me through this entire 9-part video series, good heavens, I didn't know it was going to take that long, but I really appreciate it. If you have any more questions on the board, granted, I've had 16 months with the board now, so I pretty much know them in and out, as well as most other Gigabyte boards. So feel free to shoot me any questions you have. Now, one thing I did want to mention, and I do mention this in a video that will be uploaded shortly to YouTube, a completely separate video, that there are now 2 versions of this board. The first revisions were 1.0 and 1.1, and then sometime last year, the middle of last year, Gigabyte came out with a revised version of the board at version 1.6. This uses a completely different BIOS. The BIOS options don't even look the same. The menus aren't even laid out the same for the most part. And so if you've got a revision 1.6 board and you're looking at this and thinking, man, my BIOS options don't look anything like his, well, there's your answer. It uses a completely different BIOS version. There's actually a separate BIOS version tree just for this board. Like the 1.0 boards use version numbers like F8, F9, F10, and the 1.6 revision boards use BIOS versions with all letters, so like FA, FB, FC, and I believe the current release is version FE. Do not get your boards confused, because if you flash the wrong BIOS version, you could possibly render your board dead. Now, the board does feature dual BIOS, so there are some recovery features that can kick into play and save you if you do flash the wrong BIOS, because of that dual second BIOS chip. Another wonderful feature of the board. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I really appreciate all the requests for these videos. It was not fun cutting and re-editing. I've been doing this for about 4 hours straight now, and I am tired. It is 5:45 a.m. on Saturday, April 17th, 2010, and this is Knox from www.gamebeat.net, wishing you all a great weekend and a fond farewell. Peace, God bless, and see you later.